Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio for this today? If I haven't clicked on something. Thank you. Great, thanks. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is the 18th of August, and it is a Thursday. So I hope everybody's had a successful and profitable and interesting morning. The market gave us a few lessons today. So the indices, I've been looking at this. Let me get this chart adjusted. The indices all, they're pretty much on the same page today. It looks like the TF might have been a little stronger mover this morning, but I did manage to catch a few ticks. I think caught a 30 tick ride on the NQ bus earlier this morning. But I know we've got a lot of new people in this room, or it seems like we do. So number one, welcome to all of you. And if you've got questions, please don't hesitate to ask, because there's a lot going on at Apex, and I know that if you've never seen it before, it's kind of, oh, good grief, these people are all nuts. But and I don't deny that could be the truth. However, there is a method to the madness here, and all I can tell you is it works. So if that is of interest to you, just try to take it one step at a time. Today we have got, for a while, we had the VIX coming up yesterday, if you recall, and now it's changed its tune. It broke 12, so it's trading right now 1180. We'll see what that does for it. But the big news this morning is crude oil. Crude oil really had a nice move up. Gold has been, my personal opinion about gold and bonds this morning was just way too choppy for me. I don't like that kind of stuff. Of course, Lori probably just loved it, but I don't like that, so I don't do that. If I don't like it, if the bus driver isn't going to do what I want him to, then I'm not getting on his bus. Let's see. We've had a couple of really good questions in this room today, and one of them, Vlad was just asking if crude oil was done, and this is a really good lesson, because crude oil, if you look at this market analyzer, this thing has been green all across the whole thing all morning. It's kind of given us a warning here on the trendar, but that I'm not too concerned about that. But this morning it started about 8:30 when it broke the high of the day so far, and it had a couple of consecutive elevators, or whatever you want to call this, but this made kind of a little chop box here. I'll show you. I'll put it on here. I think I will. So it made kind of a little chop box right here. Okay, the thing that you kind of have in the back of your mind, or at least I did, was to look back here, and we've got, it's above settlement. We've got green apexes, at least one right here. I think, not sure what we had. I think we kept having green ones yesterday. But when it broke out of here, this was really slow for a little while. But about 9:30 or so, it picked up. and I know I've mentioned this before, but this is a really, let me move this box out of the way. This is a really good example of what we're talking about. This first move like this is usually the best one, and it will take you, I mean, once it cleared the half deviation, then onto the 0.7 deviation, and it stopped almost right there. But it was only an elevator. When it puts in an elevator like this in a trend, it's going on. It's almost for sure. But the distance between this E right here, this first one about 8:30, and this E right here, okay, then when it starts making these consecutive ones, and this is going up or down, I have noticed that these distances start to get a little smaller and a little smaller. This is unusual because it did go a little bit more than the second E. But when you get up to here, okay, it got here about 11:53. What do we know about the top and the bottom of the hours? If it's going to turn around, it is more likely to do so at the top and the bottom of the hour. Well, it's noon. What happens at noon? And this is Eastern time. So wherever you are, it's noon Eastern. At noon Eastern, it's lunchtime. And so the big traders are taken off for an hour or so. The other thing is, one of the reasons I keep this 30-minute chart over here is for days like this. It started out this morning, 30 minutes, and it just kept going. Okay, here's 2 green ones, 3 green ones. This little red one didn't amount to too awfully much. Another green one, another green one, another green one. All right, after 4 consecutive ones, or those are kind of, to me, in a way, they're clues. They're not nearly as accurate as the deviation levels. But my point is, the farther it gets up or down, when it's put in 4, it's likely to have a pullback. If it puts in 5, it's even more likely to have a pullback. When it gets up to things like this, it is even more likely. Given the time of day, if you had a profitable trade on this move up here, I would be real happy and just say, you know what, thank you very much. I'm not going to risk any more money on that. So it may put in another E and going into the close. It could go on. And the reason I'm telling you that is because Brent cleared $50 today. And Brent is the European benchmark crude oil. And I was looking at, this is kind of interesting today. I was looking at where these back months are trading, and the December contract broke $50 in CL today. So the general idea and move here on crude oil is to the upside. And how long that will last, of course, who knows? But once we get up to this 1.5 deviation after a move like that, there is a post in the forum, and I don't have I'm real bad about keeping a file full of helpful little posts, but it is in the forum of what your probabilities are of a continuation past 1 deviation. I've forgotten what it is, but at 1.5 deviations, it's less, And at 2 deviations, it gets less. And I have seen both CL and bonds that I can think of right now go to 3 deviation levels. And those, when it gets to 3, your probability that it's going to go on beyond that is virtually slim to nothing, and slim just left. So you might keep in mind that those are really good benchmarks and major levels. And I find them a little easier to see on this 10-minute. I also can tell you that crude oil likes to go to the top and the bottom of these range channels. This is the expected range. And if you notice, it's the next hour, this hour that we're in, is sitting up here. So we'll see, based on where the market is right now, this is kind of a who knows. But it certainly has not got another range box putting this way up higher and higher and higher. So anyway, let's see, what else did we have today? We had some decent news numbers this morning. So that kind of made these indices a little happier when they did open. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have news. Let's see, 8:30 tomorrow morning is news that's going to affect the Canadian dollar. So if you like to trade those crosses, the U.S. dollar and Canadian dollar, or the 6C, which is the futures on the Canadian dollar, that might be worth watching in the morning also. We've had some new people come in that are kind of wondering about where to start. I would very strongly urge you to go through the little, there's a little series of videos about where to start on the Apex website that shows you how to set up NinjaTrader. It's a free download. How to set that up, how to set your charts up so that you've got your own charts, and you're not depending on something else, because this is a learning process, and it's a learning and a growing process. But by all means, get NinjaTrader loaded, because the data that you will get, and in a demo account, it's a freebie from CQG, but it's all on that in those little videos of exactly how to do that. So after you've gone through that, if you stumble, just let us know in the room, and we'll try to help you. We also have people that kind of come into Apex, and they're very interested. They really like it and everything, but their issue is they have a full-time job, and they think that they can only trade, during business hours. Keep in mind, these markets are available to be traded literally around the clock. Financial markets follow the sun. So that's one of the reasons this room is open 24 hours a day, is because we actually have people in here trading. Believe me, it's not a huge crowd. Right now we've got a little over 70 in here. But there's a bunch of folks that have a full-time job, and they come in, this would be Eastern time, they come in around, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and they have a real nice day before 6 in the morning Eastern time or 7 in the morning, whatever it is, when they take off for their full-time job. There are others who work full-time and they come in about 7 Eastern time and they trade for 2 or 3 hours in the evenings. So there's always somebody in here. And what do you trade? That will depend on the hours that you can trade. In the mornings in here, we are trading the U.S. Session, the morning session. Some people, I mean, if you have an appointment and you have to be gone and how am I going to get my trades in? Well, you know what? You have until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, you know, start up at 12:30 or 1 and trade until 4. If there are people who live all over the world, literally, who are in this room because they're in different time zones. So the London session is highly tradable. It's an excellent session to trade. And that opens at 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern. And so if you want to get up an hour or so earlier than normal and trade, we have I refer to them as the comedy club in here in the morning. Those guys are pretty funny, but they have a wonderful time. So, and they're very, very helpful. So I just encourage you to try and find, you know, what will work for you. And this is very, very simple. Lots of people try to make it real difficult and much harder than it is. It is very, very simple. Please notice I did not say it was easy. If somebody tries to tell you that trading is easy and anybody can do it, maybe, maybe not. But it is very simple. It does require an ability to open your mind to learn, and you have to have a lot of discipline. Everything is not, we all have our brains wired a little differently. Our eyes all see things a little differently. There's a little bit different connection between the eyes and the brain and everything. So if that's your issue right now, just remember what you're faced with is an elephant. You know, how do you eat an elephant? You have to get this to the one bite at a time. So pick maybe one market, learn it, own it. They all have a personality. They all behave a little differently, but learn everything you can about that. And then add a second one. The same with your charting. If you've looked at the IZSS and like that, great. And one of the guys in here just has more success with that thing, and he loves it. And I'm looking at his chart, and I'm thinking, what? I can't. I don't get it. I just flat don't get it. On the other hand, the charts that I trade with make perfect sense to me, and other people look at them, and it's like, what in the world is that crazy woman doing? So the accuracy of Apex is truly incredible, but you have to find the little things that work for you. So I hope that helps. And please ask questions. If you do not have Jing downloaded, please stop and do that today. There's a link in the forum about Jing. It's a freebie. You will, once you learn how to click the buttons and take the pictures, that's what we use to post charts in here. Post your charts, mark them up, ask questions, go for it, because everybody's in here to help each other. And if you don't get an answer to what you ask, for heaven's sakes, ask it again. It's not that we're ignoring you or don't want to answer you. We just didn't see your question. So Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. And don't forget that 8:30 news. 8:30 news in the morning with Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar is the currency